All right. So overview of the market. This is going to be a wide thing. So anyone that knows me, what do you think I'm going to say about the market? You could type it in the chat. It needs to come down. It's always overpriced, right? It is always overpriced. There's no difference in that. The market is fake. It's overpriced. All the companies are overpriced. I don't care what company. There's only a few companies that aren't so overpriced that it's just crazy. And one of them we'll discuss later that I think is not overpriced. Actually, it might actually be underpriced. You couldn't purchase it for the, you couldn't build what they have right now for the same price. So its book value is actually more than what I think its market value is right now. Minus future debt discounts and stuff like that, it's probably the book value is lower. But if you wanted to build what they have, it would cost you way more than just buying the stock. But you can't do that. It's worth billions. But all right, so we'll get into why I think it's overrated or overdone, which it's always overdone, like I said. But uh, it's just how have we gone from the best economy on the planet in 2019 2020, which it was at that point in time. We had GDP's continuing growth from, coming off of the 2008, it was kind of stagnant there. And then, 2013, 14 till 2020 was extremely good growth. I mean, yes, we had a few 6 month hiccups here and there. We lost 20%, but it always came back with like a 50% gain. So, who really cared about that? Those little losses right there. So, um, and then now during through COVID, it's gone up. Now we have inflation, right? So has the actual value gone up in the market? I don't think it has too much. I think the dollar has just lost a lot of money or a lot of value, and we've gone up. I don't. So when you adjust the market, say since uh, COVID, okay, since when COVID started, the market, and so 2020 January, uh, the market's actually only gone up about 35% since then when you get rid of inflation. And when you look at it, it's actually up like 100%. So that tells you how bad the true inflation was on the stuff. And we can use that by actually just looking at price of goods, not the price the government tells us. We look at actual commodities that you want to buy. And I'm talking gold, steel, things like that that are actually that take all the aspects of it. And if you get rid of 2020, which was a killer year in the market, it's only went up 20%. But the stock market went up in 2020 because, Trump gave away a bunch of money and people didn't have nowhere to put it, so they stuck it in the market. Uh, but to each his own, which helped create inflation. But I say Trump, but the government, you know, we don't know who actually runs shit. So where do I think this is going to go? It's going to be very simple. I'm going to use how I like to do it and how I trade this long term and everything else. I have broad market indexes and 401ks. Uh, I have a pension, so I don't have a thrift or anything. Although I was a government employee, been in long enough to have top three. And then my other holdings, we'll kind of discuss my largest holding right now, uh, which was Walmart. We sold Walmart. Um, we bought it for like 40, 50 something, and then it went down to like 30 something. I felt stupid. Of course, this was 2 years ago, and now, when it hits 100, we sell it. Uh, and everybody thinks Walmart's overpriced. It is overpriced, but it's no more overpriced than anything else because Walmart and Amazon are putting everyone, Walmart put everyone out of business. Amazon came around and finished off the stragglers. And now Walmart might choke Amazon out. So Amazon needs to watch its back. So here we go. Let's look at. So what I would do first, and we're just going to look at it daily because we're going to look long-term investments, so year or longer, not anything here. Now, if you already own this, we are going to discuss uh, what should you do or what options should you purchase to, I guess, how could we say that? Uh, to hedge your bets or how to trade options around your long-term holdings, right? So that's what I want most people to do, but that's just me. You can do whatever you want. Is I like to buy something that I'm interested in or I think is going to do good. And then when it's going up and down, I don't want to buy and sell it because I want to get a tax advantage play there. So I use options to try to alleviate some of that movement and keep it more less volatile and just going up in my direction. I will pay more taxes on those options, but in the when I sell the part on when should we actually start protecting our holdings or when we should sell them and buy them, right? So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look at when to protect. So let's just say I have this is daily. I have spies, or just spy. I'm holding the equity. And this is the fast, the blue one. So this is the 8 EMA. If this crosses, you'll see a little yellow little thing right here to the downside below that. What I'm going to look to do is protect my holdings. Okay. So if I own 100 shares of SPY, I'm going to buy one put there. Now, with that being said, maybe I don't want to buy a put because I used all my money on SPY. Got it? So how could I protect my SPY position right here if I don't have any extra capital? There's 28 of you. One of you know the answer. You can sell a call. Well, a call will protect it in some way, right? So you buy a covered call, all you're going to do is protect it to the premium of that call. So we'll go in here and we'll say we're going to protect that. We're going to protect it by looking at this chart and say, hey, we want to protect it for 4 weeks because I think that's a good time. It's a month, by the way. So we can go in here and we say, hey, we want to protect it for 1 month. We go out, look down here, find some around 30 days, click one that says weekly or quarterlies. Quarterlies that have better uh, volume normally. So we'll go down here, scroll that. We want to protect it right where we're at 595, right? Because it's going to be, there's only most likely only going to be around five. It won't have a lot of volume outside the multiples of five. So we're going to try to protect it right here. I'm going to get 11 bucks for that. Okay. And basically the other 43 or whatever's what's left in that. So you're only making 11 bucks. If the price goes down $11 from here, gets below 583, am I protected now? The answer is no, right? That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do that because, you could get in right there and you grab that and that's fine. It goes down, it comes back up, you're good, but they can get called away and there's a bunch of other stuff that can happen. You get what I'm saying? It can go up and you have to, purchase them back. So we're not going to look at covered calls here. I like covered calls. This isn't the position you should do. If you want to protect this, you have two options. If, and I'll say this again, if you've made a lot of money, for example, say you were Nvidia, it went up and you bought at 300, now it's at 600. You can probably buy those 11, they would be more than 11, but you can buy those $11 ones. And what did that really hit you with? It didn't really cost much, right? So at that point, you made, let's say you make 30%. All right, I'm going to get rid of the Nvidia scenario. You make 30%, and now it's coming down, and you're like, hey, I want to protect this 30% I have right now, this gain. If I spend, $5 or 2% of my gains, I could buy a protective put, and that would protect me all the way to the downside, and I could still make money if it goes up more than the premium paid. So I would look more at if it's a long-term one, uh, a possible protective put there, if that's all you can do. With that being said, I normally like protective puts when you're trading in a strategy for regular stocks, not overall market. But that's just me. All right. because it's more volatile and you also want to have good sets of volatility. What I want you to do is, and nobody's really wrote it yet, is buy a collar or initiate a collar, which is a spread, which means you're going to sell a covered call and buy a protective put. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell the 595 call, right? That's a month out. It could be longer. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, because we're just going to sell it back to them later. So right here we have 595s, right? We're going to get 11, basically $11 for them, right? Because we lose $40 on this automatic, or 40 cents on this, because the price is below that right there, right? So we're buying that. So we're getting $11. So we can come over here and then we can buy with that same money, we can buy a 596 put for $11. So actually in this scenario, we're actually making $1 in 1 month. If we just do this, we won't lose any money whatsoever, and we make $1. So in 1 month, these right here will automatically, one will execute, the other one will be worthless, and we will make $1. Does anybody know why that is? It's based upon the dividends that get added into options, right? So if you actually do this and you look over the whole year, 1% is actually that $1 isn't a large percentage, right? So $1 is what? It's really about 0.15%. It's not even a full percentage. So normally when you do this, if you do it properly, it will equal what the going like bond market or the average rate is, and definitely the average dividend if they have one. So in this case, no matter what happens with this stock, right? Because we bought a 595 call or sold a 595 call, and we bought a 596 put. So if the price goes down, right? No matter what happens, what's up? We automatically get 596 for it. Perfect. We actually make an extra dollar. If the price goes up, what happens? Nothing, right? Because we have that covered call, it goes up, whoop-de-doo. Nothing is going to get out of it. We can actually sell that for the same price of 595 now, right? Because it's going to get called away and it's going to sell for 595. Plus, we have the puts, which are going to have some type of extrinsic value, so we can sell those also. So in this sense, we're basically protected. We're not going to make any money. We're not going to lose any money in the general whole aspect view of it, right? So that's what I would do. If this fast crosses below that and then we get a touch or something like that, then I would set that up. For example, we don't have that yet, so we're going to go back to a previous one and look. So here's a crossover. It crosses over probably at night. You could tell it's going to cross over right here. Just buy it on this day, but it didn't really do it until that day. So really, we had to wait until this came all the way up here. So on that one day when it touched there, would I want to actually buy that? The answer is probably no, I probably wouldn't have. And I can tell it's going to go up. But this was a large drop overnight all the way up there. I probably wouldn't want to collar this. I would probably rather get a protective put here, right? But if I couldn't afford it and I just wanted to protect myself, there we go. It gets up to here. I pay out on that. I get out of my collar, which might cost me a little bit of money or something right here. But in the end, it cost me $0 in the long run. And then I just let it go, right? And it's not that, oh, you lost a little bit of money here or you did this or that. The whole point of this, right? Trading this is to do what? To avoid this, right? I don't want to lose 35%, right? In long run. So if I'm protected there and it goes all the way up here and then it crosses here, okay, I just made 10%. Or even worse, it stops you from losing one of these, right? Longer term, because these are months, multiple months just going straight down. And now, do you want to lose? And this is a month's crossovers, but we're just going to use the month crossovers because that's what I can. Do you want to lose 50%? No. What I want to do is at least protect my stuff until I think, hey, this is low enough. I can release it here. Maybe it'll go up, maybe it's not, but I saved myself from losing 30%. Now, this 30% loss that I saved is actually 30% more. So when the price goes up, I'm going to make way more money, right? So price goes up 30%. No, I've really made 30% more than that 30%. That's what I'm looking to do. So this crosses this to the downside. I would not be surprised if this dips. If you look at this chart, you're probably not going to like what I'm going to say here. And of course, you can blame whatever politician you want to blame. I say 450 to 475. If this really starts to come down and the economy wants to pop downward real fast, 450, 475 just to start with. And it sounds like that's dramatic, but I mean, we went down 30% into 2022 and nobody was really crying about it, right? If we go down that same 30% today, 416, right? So I would I wouldn't really hate if that's the answer. Here's another reason probably. Let's look at that. This is weekly. We are going to bring up daily charts here real quick, max daily, and we're going to add a study. We're going to put on everybody's favorite simple moving average, which mine defaults to the 200. All right. And it's right here. So that is my first target for sure. That's where if this stays lost, where I want to see it try to get to is that 200. And we can go back and you can see it just never gets there, right? And that's a good sign. So if we see this come down here and it doesn't get there and then it starts coming up really hard, we might say, hey, it's not going to that. But look, if it gets to and touches this 200, you need to prepare for it to go the rest of the way because we haven't had too many touches, okay, of the 200 that didn't actually go below the 200 or take that complete 30%, drop. I don't think there's only 10%, but that's actually coming off of another drop. So of this little crossover. So as you can see here, what happened when the slow got right there and we got below the slow that first time? It was done. Went all the way down to 200, went below the 200, continued on. And this was after a long run. This one was after, it was already going down. So that doesn't really count. And this is another long run. So when we lose that 200, that is not a pullback. That's not a 10%. Okay. Everybody wants to know averages. We average a 10% pullback every year. That's just standard odds. We average a 30% pullback every 3 years. And we're due one of those, right? So just know that's what I want to protect against it. You can try to make money off of that also. If you don't have that, you could make some longer term bets that someone put in there of, further out crazy bets, right? Say, I can go out and put you know, I don't know about that, but you could go see what some really far, you can ladder them out. But let's just say you do some crazy September, which I am not suggesting this, but we'll look at them. If I really come out here and I'm looking at puts, right? Oh, those are expensive, and I go out here and they're $7. I don't think that's reasonable to go in and buy $7, right? At 500s, because that's what you were saying by like 498s. They don't have those. But if we buy those at $7 to make 10 times my money, okay, I need that to drop $70 all the way to here below that 500. So it would have to go to 430 for me to even make, basically that's actually would have to go to here. 420 for me to even make 1,000 times my 1,000%, which you're probably like, oh, that's well, what we're going to do is we're going to look at it from a spread scenario. So now what if I go out and I say, hey, I think this is going to go down. I know it's crazy. Let's just say September, I think it might go down and I want to not blow a bunch of money, but still have that ability to not lose theta or everything else. You want to buy a spread. So we go out just a little bit. We want it to go a little bit so it gets out of this area. I can explain that if you really want me to, but we'll get out of it. I'm going to go 5 75s, and then we'll go 550s. 550s are going to cost me 13 bucks. Okay. And then for 575s, I am getting $18, or actually going to cost me 18. And then I'm selling these, right, for 13. So I'm going to pay $5 for a 25-cent spread or a $25 dollar spread. So in that case, if the price closes below 550, I will make 500%, and it will only cost me that $5 a contract. Got it? That's it. Or it's actually $500, but you get what I'm saying. Now you can do that in different ways. You don't have to do it with a long spread like that. You can say, hey, I want to do it I got a better ratio with this and this. How can I get that's 20 cents? I could just buy these two. I don't have to do a wide wing, right? So those are the things I want you to really look at if you're trying to make the money rather than just trying to protect yourself. You're trying to protect yourself at this point for large drops. I want you to use collars or a protective put. Um, I like covered calls always, but you should be using those every week almost basically, not just when it gets, oh, this one might go down because that's what I'm not trying to stop it from losing 2% or 3%. I don't want to lose 30% or even 10%, right? That's what I'm protecting myself from, right? And you can even do it, hey, if it drops 8%, I'm going to, you know, release my collar. And if I lose 20%, whatever. And if it goes up, I make my money. You can do it that way too. I do that a lot with regular stocks, right? Now, and that's it. So we're waiting for this little sucker to cross. And if that does say tomorrow, which I don't know if it is, I think the market got good news. Nvidia do good. I'm pretty sure it did. But Nvidia overreaction. I don't get why AI people got upset at Nvidia because AI. Nvidia doesn't do AI software. Regardless, you still need the Nvidia stuff, and there's still a supply issue. Right? Yeah, so it seemed good because the market's not down right now, and I'm looking at it. So, uh, yeah, yeah, and like I said, it's it's all fake stuff, anyways, right? So, with all that, we might actually see this pull up here. We'll likely see what some other people have. I don't know how good Christmas was, but I think we're going to see a slowdown in spending. Okay. And why do you think we're going, I think, why do you think I think we're going to see slow down in spending? I know you've been waiting to say his name. What is it? Trump. You got it. All right. Although I do not disagree with the commander in chief about reducing federal government dramatically, because anyone that knows me, I think most federal employees suck at their job, and they've only and it's a place where you go to get experience, or a place where you stay because you're mediocre at your job and you don't want to excel, right? You're never going to own your own business. You're never going to go work in the private sector. You just go to the job, you clock in, and you do the bare minimum, if not way more than the bare minimum, not to be fired. That is government employees. If you don't believe that, you're worse than they are, because that is 95% of all government employees. Okay. Very few do very good jobs. This does not include the military, although I could say private military is also better because it is mostly spec ops. And the post office is another. The post office actually works pretty hard, right? But they're actually kind of federal employees, but not going to get into that. And then there are other people that work kind of hard. But if you're a person out there and you're gaining good money, right? If you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and you go watch your government employees work, you would look at them and say, that's why they don't make $100,000 a year. That's exactly why, right? Best example is the DMVs here in Louisiana. The DMVs here only process 2.5 actions an hour per employee. Okay. That means they can only do two licenses, two license plates, two whatever an hour per. So Louisiana during COVID allowed title companies to actually start doing all this other stuff, issuing plates and everything else. They privatized it. Those companies do 8 per hour an employee. Can anybody explain me how they're more efficient than the government system that is already set up and running? I can tell you because you're not going to fire them because they're protected. That's why, right? No. Well, yeah. And Louisiana's got a little change now. Well, that's exactly it, Chris. They get paid by the government per unit. Duh. That's why that private company spits them out. They make it the most efficient way to make it. Here, it's just a mom and pop shop. There's two of them, and you go in. I don't know how hard it is to check your stuff and do it. Number two is they got the newest computers. You ever see them scan something? It takes 90 years for it to get into the computer, and they're always like, this thing's so slow. That's because your computer was made in 1910. You know what I'm saying? It's got light bulbs somewhere in the back room running it. So, or some people in the closet calculating it. So, a newer company is going to spend money upgrading everything else. But besides that, me bashing on most federal employees, like I said, it's a job. I'm not hating on them. If they want to do it, they're going to do it. But I think a lot more people are about to get the axe, right? And we saw how well this actually worked for our economy during the last time this was done. Which president had the best economy in the history if you look at GDP numbers per percentage? That was old Clinton, right? So Clinton slashed government. I'm not talking about a little bit. He got an axe and cut him in half. He got the army and took a chainsaw to the military. And he's not even trying to do that much of it. And it didn't lead to it did lead to a little bit of stagnation in the market, but overall, we had great GDP growth and everything else. And he did take his time with it, but he had bipartisan, help. Now you don't. So it's going to be a chainsaw now. Uh, so that could have real effects short term. So that's my fear of we have a lot of fear in the market because of that. So even whether or not it's actually happening or anything, that fear might stop people from, putting their money there, right? And then, you bring companies bring money back and they have to start spending money and developing stuff in the United States. For example, Intel, right? Intel's already spent $50 billion of their own money, got 15 billion or something from the government, and they still have another 30 something billion that they have to plant that they're going to spend to finish 3 manufacturing plants. But once they're done, they will be the largest manufacturer of silicon chips in the planet. So they will be bigger than everyone with the newest technology in 2 years. That is extremely good, not just for everybody that wants jobs, but for us getting away from the computer chips. We'll see how other stuff is. But in the meantime, you might have 80,000 US government employees. Maybe not they get fired, but don't get hired, right? As people retire, they might not replace the other ones. So you're going to lose 80,000 people in about 4 major locations, most in the Northeast, are all going to lose their jobs or not have jobs actually come in, right? So you're going to look at somewhere 100,000 probably of net lost jobs there. That can affect a economy extremely well, when it's in an area that's very publicized. So Washington, D.C., Virginia, Massachusetts, Maryland area, that's where they're all at, right? So they're going to be the hardest hit, right? And yeah, and as Andy just put in the chat, that's going to affect more stuff than just the market. But housing is a different area, and we can discuss that here in a second. Now, as they lose their jobs, right, and everything else, will they be able to transfer to other jobs? I don't know how long that'll take. I don't know if anyone has a plan for that or whatnot. I look at it like this. If everyone just lets Elon Musk handle everything, it'll probably be okay. If everybody yells at Elon, it's probably not. But I know he's not handling everything anyways, but they probably should let him run it. He's done pretty well with everything else. But especially when it comes, so we'll see. And then on the housing side, this is a double-edged sword. A lot of houses on the market, which means what? Supply's up, demand's down. You're seeing individuals that were in FBI headquarters get transferred to Alabama or wherever it was, right? That's a lot of people there too. So it is it is absolutely crazy. They are gutting the Washington D.C. area right now. It is going to get hurt. It's If you live in that area, I feel sorry for you. You might feel some pain in the next 3 or 4 years. Or you might really like it. I don't know what to tell you. Uh, but also, in the likelihood is you're about to lose probably a lot of GOP votes, which is also hilarious because the people he's probably firing and stuff are more likely his people. But whatever. Yeah, it is what it is. You can't. But like I said, every it sucks when you want something to happen, people have to sacrifice, right? You can't. People want results with no consequences. You know what I'm saying? And then if they happen to you, that's bad. Well, then nothing would ever get done, right? I don't want to pay taxes either, but you know what I'm saying? So there's going to be some sacrifices from people that probably wish it wasn't them because they voted for a certain person. But it is what it has to happen on every front, and we'll see. But the housing area is going to do two things. The number one issue we have right now, what everybody is, the market goes up with inflation, right? So inflation goes up, stays flat. The market adjusts for that inflation, by the way. We use the Johnson or the Janssen formula, which when I do my adjusted cash flow method to evaluate a company, it goes in there and I know, hey, even if nothing changes whatsoever besides inflation and the price is at 596, I know in 4 years it's going to be compounding by 3% each year on average. That would raise it, that 9.4% or whatever, right? Automatically raise that 9.4%. That's it. There you go. Heavy duty, right? You see that through the last like 4 years. More of the market gain was based upon expected inflation numbers going up, right? But now I think most inflation we have seen stop. Doesn't mean it's de-inflation. The prices are coming down. Some things have. Uh, but they're pretty much all normal except housing, right? Housing is like at 4.6. Its inflation is still at 4.6 expected for the year, right? That is year to year. That is a lot higher than the core is like at 2.9 to 3.1. It hasn't changed in 2 years. So it's basically been within that the last 2 years every month. It goes to 3.1, drops to 2.9, and everybody goes, oh, yeah, inflation's coming down. Then it goes back to 3.1, and we restart the thing all over again. And people are so stupid they haven't noticed it. All right. So that's what's been happening the last 2 years. So unless housing numbers come down, all right, I don't see that inflation might not really go away. So pulling this out might slow down the government spending, might also cause the inflation numbers to come down on the housing market. We'll see. And Everybody goes inflation and the housing market is only because we cannot produce houses fast enough. BS. There's no houses going up around me. Everybody that's building a house right now around me, it's they're building on their land or something. They ain't building no neighborhoods, you know. And maybe if you go to Dallas or something like that, they're still building, but I bet you ain't as crazy as it was. Uh, so the numbers are just there because people are willing to pay for it, right? So you just got to wait for there to be some pain. And when that pain comes in, some people are going to have to take some hits, whoever that is. It's probably going to be some of these people that bought up a bunch of these houses. BlackRock might be that person that takes this hit, right? Yeah, that's probably true, Andy. A lot of those firms probably are putting them out. They own like 38% of all houses right now in America, right? So we have to see them. And if there's nobody there, it hopefully it drops the prices. Um, that sucks if you're looking to sell your house. In the long run, who really cares, right? We need it is what it is on that. Uh, but we'll see. We need to get that 4.6% inflation on houses down, and that'll lower our core value. And if you want, it's not only is do they own 38% of the housing market is actually like 37% of our consumer price index, also, right? So it's just over a third of what goes into our inflation. So that tells you if that is 4.7 or 4.6, I think, in December, because it does take longer to get those numbers in. And this is government numbers. And we're running a 3% in December year to year. And that's only a third. How low is the rest of the stuff? It's right. It's extremely low. Yeah. Because a 4.7 didn't pull it in. That means everything else is already at a 2, and this jackass is sitting up here at 4.6, right? Everything else probably like at 2.2, which is in the norm. And then housing is up there. So prices aren't coming back down, but they can stay flat, which is inflation, and that's where we're at right now. So we need the housing market to go to shit. We need it down. And I don't know how to do that, but it needs to be done. Now, I can tell you from a standpoint of what two different scenarios will be. If you're a Democrat, you're going to want, um, I say this, and that I'm going to tell you not to be uh, political, but I don't care. It's true. You're going to want more low income housing credit taxes. You're going to want all this stuff to get more people into houses. That doesn't help the inflation, idiot. It gives them government money free to buy a house, which raises the price of the house, right? And number two, who here has a neighborhood near them that is selling houses that someone that might be considered low income can afford? I'll wait for that answer. I'll tell you it's fucking zero. Zero. No one is producing houses for low income families. Okay. The only people that are doing in that are going to be in some little city area where they got some huge tax break discount to do it. So they actually make money doing it there. No one in the real world's doing it, right? Just maybe in a city and it'd be like like 100 houses, right? And then they get like $8 billion from, I don't know, probably USA, right? So that's it. So that is not the way. You don't want to see that happen. You want zero regulations on housing, building, restrictive zoning laws. You want all that stuff gone. And everybody goes, oh, no, that's what stuff is good for. Well, I want this. And everybody goes, they protect. Well, I
Possibility
want you to
of
do
a
this. I want you to go
three-way
find
tie, right?
20 houses that were built from 1990 until today. I want you to go in and see how well they're built, how many of them have cracks in their foundation, how many of them you can see the drywood splitting. Okay. And then I want you to go find a bunch of houses that were made pre 1960 and explain to me how a 100-year-old house looks more sturdy than the brand new one. Oh, I can tell you why. Because it was built better, because they built it better, because they didn't have to build it to some stupid code that makes no sense, right? So that's another issue, right? So much regulations and everything else. It's got to go away, right? It costs so much to do it. If I build a house right now and the house costs me $300,000 to build, I'm probably going to spend $20,000 on that, pulling permits and shit. And then the time that I'm going to have to wait for all that to get inspected and everything, the carrying cost of that time of waiting and not working in it's probably going to cost me another 2 months. That's about on average what I pay right now. So, or what I wait now, waiting on inspections and stuff. And especially when it's an inspector that comes out and says, "Oh, that's wrong." I'm like, "No, that's exactly what it says." He goes, "Well, I don't know who wrote this. The fucking engineer did, you backwoods fucking dipping idiot." And then he goes, "Oh, that is right." And it took me 2 months off. I had to carry that cost for 2 months. How much do you think that costs? Cost me thousands and thousands of dollars. So now I have people that I have to pay during that time also because I'm not going to pay them. So now I'm paying 20% of the cost of that business was nothing but regulatory fees and bullshit. That's why your house costs so much money. And I live in an area where I can go do whatever I want to and nobody's really going to argue. If you live in a large city with 90 million rules, it's probably way worse. Okay. So you need to get that off to help bring down the price of housing too, or it's never going to happen. Right. And if you do that and you get rid of this is the only regulation I personally would want is no individual or corporation can own more than say 5 single family homes. Got it? So nobody. And if you do own more than five, you're not allowed to rent them out. So you get what I'm saying? So you can't rent them out. That would stop large businesses from buying up single family homes. But it would still allow you, the individual, to purchase one or two to make money off of, right? That's fine. But this is the problem. What happened in 2008 when 90 something percent of the homes were owned by people? Well, prices went down. The only people with money were the banks that just screwed us over. So they bought all of our houses and then rented them to us for a crap ton of money. And then they just rinsed and repeated it again. And now they own $15 trillion worth of houses, you know? So, but are any politicians ever going to do that? No. So that's why I think the housing market is going to go to shit anyways, right? And it's going to hold up inflation, but it's still going to go to shit in your area, right? But you can always write to your buddies, complain about it, right? But if you live in the one of those northeast towns I was talking about, you're going to get hit, and you know who you are. Everybody's a government employee, you know. Uh, mm, uh, I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know if you can get out of your house, but yeah. If someone just shows up and wants to give you market value for your house, I'd probably take it because you're probably about to lose 20% of the value of your home in the next 6 months. Because when September hits, it's over. Is that 6 months? Yeah, it's right at 6 months. 7 months, actually. All right. So we'll see about all that. Now, like I said, I don't know where this is going, but I told you where I thought it would go down to this right here if it stays below the blue lines. Now we'll go talk about other stuff. We beat up on inflation. Okay, so if the market does dip right here, what are some ways you can make money? Does anybody know? Without buying calls or puts, how can you make money in a down market? When the market is up and it's about to go down without buying puts or shorting? What investment vehicle could you buy? I'm not talking about tell me the fundamentals of economics. You buy a Griffin good or some shit like that. No, no. I understand luxury goods, Griffin goods, and all that. I'm talking about what vehicle of investment could you buy? There you go, Justin. Big brain. Bonds, right? So this is historically correct, and hopefully this will be correct now. If the market goes down, that's only going to be likely because the expectation of a subtraction or a reduction of the GDP and the fear of going down. If that happens, inflation's going to go down. If inflation gets near 2% when the housing pulls back, right, that's going to do what to rates? High speeds are going to drop the rate. right? Will that pull down mortgages? Probably, because right now the demand for houses was so high that mortgage brokers didn't actually have to drop the rates to get people to buy them because people wanted them. Now the supply is going to be more than the demand, and those banks are going to have to offer better financing to actually get you to buy the houses now. Okay. So they lower with the rate. So although the Fed rate has come down, mortgage rate hasn't basically, right? So that's what you're going to see pulled back down. Now, when that happens, bond rates are an inverse to their price, right? So if bond rates go down, price of bonds go up. So if you own the bonds now, right, at say, I don't know what are bonds going for? Someone tell me what a 10-year going for right now. Doesn't have to be a 10-year bond. Yeah, great question. Oh, did it invert today? We could discuss that later too. It looks like it's 4 point, we're going to say 4.25, right? So if it's at 4.25, right, that 10-year yield, and let's just say it dips to 2%, how huge is that in the price of uh, a bond, right? So I am going to bring up a bond calculator because I don't want to do this on you could do it on Excel actually if you know how to use present value, but if I show you that, it's probably just you're going to just hate me more. Bond calculator. I'll end up taking forever and then trying to teach y'all something else, and it's probably not what I want to do. So we're just going to use this. We're going to use zero coupons because we're just going to do zero coupons because they would pay out. We're going to do 10 years. And yes, I understand treasuries do have coupons, but I guess it makes it easier for me to calculate that. The yield right now is 0.25, right? Face value, what? It's always 1,000. I don't know why that's, I guess you could say 100 and do it in percentages. Coupon doesn't really matter because we're putting that on zero anyways, right? So we're going to hit that button and it's going to tell you a 10-year is going to cost you $597, right? 559.54, right? That's what you would pay. In theory, this would be your dirty price if you bought it right now and it expired exactly in 10 years, right? Or matured in 10 years. This would be what you would pay for that bond, and in 10 years you would get 1,000 bucks. Got it? So let's just say nothing here changes, and we change that to 9 years. 1 year from now, that is going to cost you 687 bucks. So you would actually pay more, right? Because you're losing 1 year of interest, right? But wait, the yield has gone down now. So you held on to that one you bought for 659. So 1 year later, this is now at 2%. Watch this dramatic change. Ready? It's 836. The market hasn't done anything. The price has gone down. And now you're probably sitting here. What's the difference between that and that? Well, it's $177.21 minus whatever coupon you were paid. I understand. And you can get them without coupons, by the way, but minus the coupons, right? Because it would be a little bit different, right? But now you're taking what is 177. What's the percentage? That is 26%. And all you did is, and you can make money on this no matter what. You just make more money if you sell it. So you wait for your maturity. If you do good, you make the 5% or the 4.25%. But if it goes against you and the market goes down, you sell your bonds and you make your money there to cover your stocks. If it's going up, your stocks make your money. You kind of get what I'm saying? That's that old 60/40, Warren Buffett trade. Okay. It should be more in bonds as you get older, but whatever. But that's it. Everybody kind of get that? That's why it's extremely dramatic. I did the same thing when yields were low and I thought they were going to go up. I just shorted the bonds and made a shit ton of money. Right. So it's the same method you can look at. And in the worst case scenario, you just got bonds. But just understand if the yield goes up, that's not good for you, right? That lowers your price. You're going to have to hold those to maturity, right, to make your money. Any questions on that? No. No, like I said, you don't need to just go buy bonds. You need to talk to someone about deviating there. There's different things. You're going to add in coupons and stuff like that. And I'm not usually buying bonds of treasuries myself. I'm buying other types of bonds, but yeah, there you can go. Learn all about. And you can actually buy equities that cover this. So you don't actually have to buy the bond. You can buy the equity that covers the bond. It's like treat it like the nugget for gold. They have those for that too. Is it? I'm going to probably lose. I'm probably going to not guess this right, but is it? Don't be TJ Maxx and make me look stupid. I thought it was TJ. Oh, I bet you it has a swiggly in front of it, doesn't it? Come on. I don't want VSEC. I know that one. Oh, why can't I find it? One of y'all be able to give it to me sooner or later. I haven't really had to mess with this in a long time. So I don't know. You can buy the iShares. Gee, thought it was that. GovT, right? Okay, there you go. So you can see as GovT, as rates are low, price is high, and it's down here. The only issues with this is what? You're not going to make a bunch of money running it like this, right? But you can do a little bit different because guess what? These have options. All right, so you can go around and look at them, and then you can use options to. Yeah, is it TNI is what I'm talking about? Is the short one, right? Is that right? Or TNJ? Yeah. I'm trying to, what's the short rate one? Uh, that's a 10-year note. Yeah. My doesn't seem to want to actually open anything in that. Way to go, Thinkorswim. But yeah, you can look them all up, and I would contact someone before buying a bunch of bonds, even if I don't think you probably could through your broker, anyways. But if you did have a lot of money and you wanted to protect your stuff, it'd be a really smart time to be purchasing bonds. Um, because I think Trump is going to do everything he can to get the Fed to lower rates because he wants everything to look like it's peachy clean, just like everybody always wants them to. And then he is actively trying to stop government spending, which has been handing corporations money hands over fist, right? And this trips me out, right? Everyone gets mad that rich people don't pay taxes, but this is the fucking weird thing. Rich people aren't rich. The companies they own are rich, right? But you want to continue to give these companies money to where, and they only spend a fraction of it to do whatever it is, to then try to tax them. It's just like you can't have it both ways. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't tax them more and then want to give them free subsidized money. And that's what you're doing because if you think when you pay for some homeless people, give these people free stuff over there, or you're giving them, let's give people welfare for food or something. No, they probably only get about 20% of that. The rest of it goes into some corporation's pocket. For example, Kellogg's. Nobody on food stamps is going and buying Fruitios. They go buy Fruit Loops because that's just what they do. Is, I got you. So that's the problem. All right. So favorite stocks. We discussed inflation. I think I drove that home crazy. I think housing is going to be the issue. Like it or not, I think Trump is going to drive the housing market down in a few areas. I think it is 100% an attack on places he doesn't like. So if you live in a blue state or a big blue area, or actually, if you live in a blue city in a blue state, uh, there's probably a lot of attacks going to be coming your way. And it's not going to be clear as day, but I think it will be extremely pointed into regulatory forms to basically screw you over by limiting the amount of federal money indirectly going into that environment. That doesn't mean, oh, we're not going to spend your money on the schools or this or this, but I can remove all the federal employees that live in your city and then put them in this city where I have friends. So now all that money right there and all their paychecks are going to go over here to where all my friends own the businesses and run the city. And now they have all that income. You get what I'm saying? Don't trip. Biden did it too. Biden moved federal funds because he didn't like that one state wouldn't allow chicks with dicks to play in fucking or dudes with dicks to play in girl sports, right? He did it. He basically said, we're not going to move this Air Force base to here because of this. You get what I'm saying? So don't get mad when it's the other way. I just think it's funny. All right. But it's going to happen. So prepare for that. And it's probably going to not have the desired effects that he wants, nor what you want. It will hurt here short term. It will help here over long term. And in the end, it's still going to go to some rich kid, right? It's not going to go to you, and it's probably not going to help the bottom line, right? Uh, and it doesn't matter which politician you put in there. You can't name me five straight politicians. So because there's not five. And the ones that are probably legit are probably so crazy that nobody really trusts them anyway. Like that dude from Pennsylvania that wears hoodies and stuff. That dude, I don't think is BSing anyone, but everybody else is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Also, I don't think he's probably smart enough to do anything. So that's the problem. All right. Favorite stocks. We're going to look at Meta while y'all try to tell me what my stock pick is. Meta's kind of running on the same style as the market is right now, maybe a little bit less, but of slope. I can actually check that. I can go right here to right there, and it would tell me the percentage or the angle is attitude 11.29. Yeah, 16.43. So it's way off. It is only about 70% correlating with the market. Everybody knows mine. Yeah, I don't dislike Meta. It's just how does Meta make their money? First and foremost, right? Meta is making their money off advertising and they are in everything, right? That's really what it is. I don't know if they have any news. I really need to dig in before I tell you if I like it or not. I just know Meta makes money and it makes a lot of it, right? And even if you wanted to short Meta or you wanted to cancel Meta because, now old Zuckerberg's coming out and saying, the Biden administration did this and this and this, and we just went along with it because we were scared. it's like you're portraying both people. You're telling us what you did if you're on the far right. If you're in the middle, we're like, yeah, we all knew it the whole time. And then if you're on the far left, you're like, why are you telling people the secrets? So I don't know if it's going to help them in the long run to become political all of a sudden. I don't think he's right far, but I think the left is going, and this is sad because I usually is center. I think I think a lot of Democrats are going to be more center in 4 years, right? Because they just can't win an election right now. They're not going to win the next one either if they don't move back to center. But they have just gone to the fucking moon to the left, bro. They just jumped off the fucking cliff with some craziness. And all these rich people now that are so rich, and they just don't care, right? And they're just going to come out and say it like this is bananas. So I wish Zuckerberg wouldn't because I just don't care what a company's politics are. I like money, right? So we'll see. But, Musk came out and it was he's doing extremely good. So I think everybody else now is going to kind of start following suit, you know. And you can kind of tell the difference of someone that doesn't care and then someone that is a true little Sigma boy. You know what I'm saying? And one's going to fall under pressure. I think you're going to see Meta decline because of that, right? But and number two is the privacy issues, right? I think Meta is just overpriced like most companies, so their decline will be with the market. That's why I'm saying that. Not because of their really I don't think they have anything that could uphold a market downturn. So their beta will be exactly with that market. And you're looking, regardless of where that is right now, just bring it down here to the 200, right? I guess in a way, it's a little bit right at the same mark as loss of SPY, but because it didn't go up as much as SPY, maybe it won't go down. But it's already down pretty good, actually. But I don't even know. Why did it drop? I don't know. This is what Facebook needs to do. Facebook needs to fire 40% of their employees and then fire another 30% in 8 months. Give them the warnings now. They will still be able to work just as good. And then they will probably save 1 to 1.8 billion dollars in operating costs, which will then increase their cost per share to somewhere around $8 or $3 more. And that's where they'll make their money because they're bloated. And anybody know why all these companies are bloated? Why do you think all these companies should be laying people off or have been laying people off in the last year? Because Meta and stuff been laying people off, but why do you think they're laying a lot off now? COVID, man, the government gave you huge tax incentives and benefits not to fire people. This went all the way around. Like people complain like Tesla made money, but they didn't pay no taxes. That's true, but the government had these things to keep everyone at work and paid them and gave these companies money to continue to keep people on even when they weren't working. And that was the incentive. So they spent money on that to not pay taxes. Now, some people, of course, abuse the crap out of that, whatever. But we didn't even spend most of it. We had to have a new law to spend the other money that we already had allocated. So, uh, yeah, we'll see how to. And that's exactly they hired because they were getting the money for every employee. Like it was a lot. I had friends with like 12 employees that got like $500,000 for that shit. right? 3 years later, got $500,000 checks. I'm like, you got $500,000? You're in the oil industry. You don't even, you work like offshore. How the hell did you get that? He was like, it was for everyone. I was like, you made millions. He was like, it wasn't for people that would, it was at first, it was for people that were having struggling. And then it was for everyone. And I was like, you got to be shitting me. Like, I should have just kept all my businesses and just defrauded the government. I guess it's not fraud if they set it up that way. But yeah, Walmart, identical with Spy. You can say you don't trust it or anything else. Walmart was severely underpriced over here. I said it a long time ago. Of course, I bought it. I even had my late father-in-law spend $1 million on it. And then, of course, right after he did that, the shit, it was like right here. And it just went, it lost like 20 something percent. You know what I'm saying? Immediately. I mean, I'm talking like 3 days after he spent $1 million on it, it lost 200 something thousand dollars. And he didn't even care. He was like, I had to go up sooner or later. And it was no joke, you know. So, of course, now we know it's worth like 100, so pretty decent. But with dividends and stuff, we did pretty good, right? And but I am out. I got out at 100 a long time ago, but not a long time ago, but got out. So we'll see. Do I like it here? No, it's overpriced, just like the whole market. I'm not looking for one of those. I'm looking for a company that is not overpriced, right? And still is printing money. Here's a company that costs 23 cents. Let's look at its money. It is making what? It is giving a dividend of 12 cents per share, and it's making 18 to 24. Lost some money there. It's making 13 here. Got you. So in the we got to actually run this back 4 candles, right? So we're looking at everything. Hey, it's making money, right? And when it started to go down, it was making 41 cents, 13 cents, 54 cents. So when it was going down up here, it was actually doing extremely well, right? It was running a 30p, 40p at its all-time high. Now, people are dogging on it because it has had issues. Does anyone know where Intel really fell off? Number one, they started having issues with their their PC stuff, but they had issues with actually funding buildings and stuff. And they kind of got trapped there. But then the government came in and gave them a nice little helping hand when they passed the what is the America Chip Act or what's it actually called? But we're just gonna let the Chip Act, right? Yeah. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know it's probably got some stupid name, but it's way more than just that. It's to get America's production of sensitive national security chips here. So we want AI abilities here. We want all that stuff made here. That's why it's coming here. Right now, guess where it's made? It's made in Taiwan. Right? So bringing that all here. So there you go. That is Intel. Intel, not only that, Intel is the only person in possession of 1.2 nanometer lithographs machines right now. That means Intel is the only company that can produce a chip in, I'm going to say this, in production, right? In mass production, smaller than 1.8 nanometers in the planet. That's because the corporation that makes those pretty things in Germany, that sells them to Samsung, that sells them to TSMC, made a deal with Intel, which they had to pay for this, right? To buy all of them. They bought them all the ones they had in 2024, which I don't even know why, because they didn't have any place to put them. But whatever. And then they have all of them right now until at least the third quarter of 2025. So if they can actually get those producing, they're going to have, in theory, the ability to make the best possible transistors for any chips on the planets for the next year. If I don't think you're going to see that in the consumer side, but we might see it in the server side and a little bit more with AI, right? Because AI, you always think, oh, GPUs here, GPUs, but you can use a lot of good processors to do a lot of this stuff and moving it back and forth. So we might see that. And that's something that everyone knows about in the sector, but nobody's speaking up. But all that's changed because the reason why it's down is they're spending money. You can't make money when you're spending 30, 40 billion dollars a year building stuff, right? And that's their problem. Um, they're using all their money to do that. They're taking on debt to do it. I got you. Doesn't look good. Their numbers don't look good. But the problem is, I mean, we can say Tesla didn't look good. I probably did yell at Tesla for not looking good 10 years ago. I know I did. I can look at any company and say this company sucks, right? That's new because it doesn't make any money. Intel actually makes money and they're building $100 billion worth of that's more than anyone. Um, so I think that's why that's it. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody, their CEOs, look, everybody wants to blame a CEO, right? I've went into multiple companies, even banks and stuff, as a low, like in a not, I'm not the one doing the consult, someone else is, and I was the analyst. And guess what? The CEO really played zero roles. A lot of times the board members were the ones that were messing it up, and they don't really change. Those are investors because they force people to do things. And then just the overall culture of the company was usually the problem, right? And the CEO can try to make changes with that, but you to change a culture takes just so many years. Like when I advise someone's like, oh, they need to change their culture, I just stop. Embrace the culture you got now or just sell the fucking company because you're not going to be able to maintain the people that are good. And then the people that are going to actually stick with the culture change are going to be your worst employees because the good ones are going to like the culture that they're already in or they would have already left. So they're going to bounce to your competitor and you're going to have a bunch of shitty people in this new culture running your company to the ground. Most people don't listen to me and now they're fucking, it is what it is. Probably didn't work out for them, but it's just human nature on that side. But with Intel, I think Intel's biggest problem is going to be employees. Where are you going to get individuals to work these employees? We don't have them. We have people, but we don't have good employees. We have a bunch of me currently, right? I don't want to go do hard labor. I want something really easy, right? So, uh, we'll see what it is. So, uh, I think we need a lot more. There's a lot of jobs out there, and I think it comes down as go to college, all that. Yes, babe. Uh, you know, and you hear this all the time. I think going to college is great for the experience to go to college. I think you will learn zero at college. Most time, you will learn nothing from college. You will leave college with a bunch of knowledge you could have got, like Goodwill Hunting said, for a dollar something in late fees at your library. Because I teach master programs only now, and 90% of them are stupid. And I don't mean like they're unintelligent. I mean, they don't know why they're doing something or why it is that. They just know it is, right? So I know this happened, right? I know this. Um, I teach my first thing is in ethics, right? So you learn how to learn, right? Well, and you keep that's what you would want, but that's not the case any now because it's all online. It's not personal. You're not getting to know people anymore. It's, oh, I got a degree. Like, no, you don't. Your degree's stupid. But, I teach ethics, right? So when you're an ethics when you're an ethics instructor, I'm not a professor in ethics, but I get tasked to do stupid online classes all the time. You get tasked to do some classes you shouldn't be doing because people think ethics is the same as like gender studies or some shit. It's not. And ethics doesn't mean do the right thing because ethic theories are both good and bad, or also neither, right? But you get some crazy shit out there. I'm just telling you. Like I love those classes just because I get to like argue with students and stuff and then make them realize that they're stupid. I love that. I can't do that at the undergraduate level because I get in trouble. The graduate level, I can embarrass you in front of all your classmates all I want to, and I don't really get in trouble. So that's great. Rockstar Games. We'll see. You know what the problem with Rockstar Games is? Ah, when is GTA 6 coming out? And it's made in the UK. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it should be huge, right? But we'll see. And what I mean by that is they better not make it a woke game or the gaming industry is going to destroy it. Although it's going to be huge, right? It's GTA 6. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I don't follow it enough to make an assumption about what it would make because you can have a really good game like that that just makes money for a decade, like GTA 5 has. But how much did it cost and how much are they actually going to make on it? I don't know. Because GTA 6 doesn't need to do any marketing, right? Zero, you know. It's a meme, right? Like it was like nobody thought Donald Trump would be the president again before GTA 6 comes out, right? That's been a theme for like 10 years almost, I feel like. So, or a meme, not a theme. So we'll see about that. Uh I can't really say what it is, but you can see it's just yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It makes money, don't get it wrong. But look at this, just loss. Ooh, $17. So how do you lose all this money and then make $17 right here, right? And that's because of production, sale, production. You get what I'm saying? And running servers. So it's really hard to look at their numbers and really give you a guesstimate of where it's going to be without being someone that follows it, you know, and has an understanding of what they've done and what they've been in production for the last few years. And I'm not going to go into that detail, but yeah, I would 100% if you could get this lower down by the slow, or especially at the 200, to take that if you think GTA is coming out in a year, because regardless of what it is, you buy it here. GTA says it's going to come out. It's going to shoot up and go crazy, and then you sell it. And that, you know what I'm saying? You buy the news, you sell the actual event, right? That's what I would do with GTA 100%. It might continue to go up, but I'm not going to guess that. Right? And I don't know, man. I want GTA 6 to be as crazy as GTA 5 was. And I just feel like we're in a different, just imagine where we were at 10, 15 years ago, or 15 years ago when they started production of GTA 5. We're in a much different place, right? Cancer culture is already going. You got Me Too or Pound Me Too. And it's just a whole different world. So is GTA 6 going to be cool or is it going to, yeah, or is it going to be some crazy, not GTA 6 running around just, you know, shooting people and slapping hoes, you know, like GTA 5 is. I don't know. And most of the people that play that game are extremely dudes sitting in their house, you know what I'm saying? Watching certain types of videos, not other people. So we'll see how it works. We'll see. But Intel, that's where it is. And with Intel on that, we'll look at the Max, right? You're talking about becoming one of the, and I won't get around with being, oh, I'm going to be the best there ever is, you know. But yeah, I think Intel could get to 50 extremely quick in a year or so, and that's 100% overall. I'm not buying, you know, options here. I'm buying something to buy on and then dip off, right? I can sell covered calls against it, although I would highly suggest you do it way out not to get caught on that, but it's up to you. If it's in a retirement tax advantage, you could do that, right? Sell cover calls, get it called away, buy them back, right? And sell more on it. I think you'll do pretty decent on that. Uh, that's about it on that. I think this is the best company you can buy right now and just hold. Okay. If you want to buy options, I can't right now with how the market looks with that potential for the crossover. I cannot tell you to do it until I see what happens. It could be next week, could be the week after until that happens, but I would need to wait, all right? And then I would follow the market. If it's going down, I wouldn't touch Intel. If the market decides to get back up and actually not cross over and starts putting up new highs above 610, you could go ahead and get an Intel, like options, okay? If they're still low down here. Other than that, this is still a bearish play. As you can see, it's not above the slow yet, right? So that's bad news. Now, if we look at the daily, you're going to see it is, but right. So looks good now, but unless this rebounds and gets back above that, this was just a hiccup, so but it's a long-term play for me. It's where I'm sticking my money. So, dude, y'all been in Baba for 2 years. Finally made its move, huh? I wouldn't. I would. And everybody thinks Baba is going to do well. Anybody know why Baba went up? Does anyone have an idea? Has nothing to do with Baba. Actually, Baba's been doing decent lately, but they always make good money. No, nothing to do with tariffs. You just like to stimulate yourself. Uh, Anybody know? None of that helped. Zero of that helped. Baba was doing fine and going up slow. The day that DeepSeek was released, Baba started its surge up dramatically. And then everyone said Alibaba is going to perform better because of AI. AI, AI, AI. Alibaba is a large conglomerate party that owns a bunch of it. But let's get this straight. DeepSeek and AI and Alibaba have zero connections. Zero. Absolute zero. Number two, Alibaba is not an AI, nor has ever been an AI style company. They've been trying to get into it. Everything they get into fails miserably. Three, Alibaba is a producer to corporation company. Always has been. That means they make a bunch of shit, get a bunch of shit, make a bunch of Salesforce shit like that, and sell it to the corporation side of the house. And then not to people. So if you want to go buy something from Alibaba and you want to buy some t-shirts, you buy 100 t-shirts. That's how it's built. I know you could probably still buy one, but that's the kind of scenario. But it also will provide you ways to manage those t-shirt sales, where to push them around the world, logistics. You get what I'm saying? So it's much more than just selling that. It's huge, right? It's kind of like Amazon on that side, and with a little bit different shit. And then Timu would be the one that sell it to the individual or something like that. But yeah, this right here is deep sync. So nobody had a way to invest in deep sync, and idiots bought it in this sense. But Baba's good either way. It is overpriced like shit, but everything's overpriced like shit. It's like I'm saying, it's overpriced now. Down here was not a bad price. Up here, actually, down here wasn't a bad price. Up here, no. But yeah, AI, Alibaba, zero connections with DeepSync or AI. Zeros. But this is a great example of we have uh what do we do when something that's not even connected whatsoever with the company raises it up, right? For example, we look at SpaceX and not what's the stupid one that the Virgin one? Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Galactic Virgin.
Galactic Virgin, right? So when SpaceX was launching shit and catching them and doing all this cool shit, everybody was like, "Well, I want to get into space. So let me go buy the space one. What's it's called space, right? I don't know. It's one of these stupid things. Yeah. Right. Right. So you have all this, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's going to be so great. It's going to be awesome. They're doing it. Oh, yeah. No. Oh, this company does absolutely jack and shit. Okay. It was $1,200. Now it's $3. Welcome to it." That is the same thing. It's not that this is an extreme version, right? Because at least this is the same sector as as SpaceX. As saying Alibaba and AI. No, no, DeepSync and that have nothing to do. Is DeepSync going to help Alibaba? Maybe, but it's going to help its competitors also. But this is a great way to look at it. Now you have to understand why the market doesn't make sense, right? Because most people can look at that and say, what the fuck is it going up for? You have nothing to do with that. But do people think it does? Okay, China has AI. I want to invest in it. I can't. What can I invest in that might use China AI? And then we go ching chong chong. The only one I know is Alibaba, right? That's it. And it's not even a fucking Chinese name. It's weird as shit, right? So that's where we go. And that's where people put their money. So when that money went there oh, we need to get into the Chinese stocks, threw that in there. And it rode the coattails, and you ride in knowing when to ride those coattails were huge. We actually discussed that right when it happened. We were talking about which stocks you can make the money off of, and they were Alibaba and a bunch of other ones. But knowing that it was going to get stupid is one thing. Now, if Alibaba was already overpriced, it probably wouldn't have got that jump. But because Alibaba wasn't overpriced and it was a good purchase price, when it did get that jump, it got the benefit of everybody else getting on board. Kind of get what I'm saying? So because it was kind of a good price to buy in, it was a good price. Since it was a lower price, it made the gains way more than it would have been if it was overpriced. Like say if you bought it now, if it happened now. I guess if that makes sense. Um, Lockheed Martin, it's always going to make money in war. Don't get it wrong. If you could buy Tesla stocks, buy Tesla stocks. Uh, or not Tesla, I'm sorry, SpaceX. Yeah, I have a lot of SpaceX. Besides I own more SpaceX than I do Intel, but that's about it. How would I buy SpaceX? I contacted SpaceX's people and bought SpaceX. You got to have a few $1 million or a bunch of shit. There's actually places you can buy it. You just have to be a high value. You have to be, I don't know what the rules are for them to actually say you are, but it's like you got to make over 250,000 a year. You got to be accredited investor. Or this or that. I'm an accredited investor anyways. Plus I had my old setup for when I had people's money, so I had to hook up. And you weren't really accredited investor. They weren't really offering to you, but SpaceX started to allow um, employees to purchase them and then sell them also through those things. So if you were an employee, you were vested in them, they weren't allowing you pull them out of your stuff and then put them on these sites, right? There was only certain companies. And I think someone sued them, but it actually didn't even go to court. They said, yeah, if you want to sell it's yours. You can sell it. It's not a fake thing. So employees started selling them. and dude, they're worth a lot. Like when I got mine, they were pretty decent priced. I bought a few at like 115, and then like 5 months later, I was able to get them for 115, 150, locked in the price, wired my money, and they didn't send me my clarification that I actually got them until 2 months later. But then when I actually got the paperwork saying they were mine 2 months after I wired them the money, it already went from 140 something dollars to 300 something dollars. I was like, because I was pissed because I'm like, I better get these now because I wired you all this fucking money. But it was because of how it had to go through people and shit. But yeah, but I own a lot. Like got got two commas in that motherfucker. You know what I mean? So, and out of any company on the planet, I wouldn't say it's the least, but SpaceX makes money, bro. You know what I'm saying? SpaceX, and not only you can't stop paying SpaceX because there's no other company that's even close. You have companies that have there's some good space ones out there, but the problem is they're using SpaceX's technology, so that's kind of crazy because they don't hoard that. What they can give away without government issues, they give away. Uh, and then and all their other patents of stuff have to be patent for government security shit. They don't hold anything back. But the problem is, dude, have you seen that Starlink shit? I'm just saying. If you're a cell phone company, you're about to be blockbuster. Um, If who SpaceX is already working with T-Mobile and someone else, and the thing is it's going to destroy everyone. It's going to be so much faster. Everything's going to work better. People don't understand how crazy your phones are now and how these signals work. Because if you literally need a tower within like 500 feet of your fucking phone now to actually work properly and at speed. And the only way to not do that is to do uh, a peer-to-peer method. So what we would call, well, I think I discussed this too, where I'm close to the thing, it goes through my phone and then goes to you, and then your stuff goes to my phone and goes to that. Although it doesn't get in my operating system, there's a control there. So I'm also an antenna, for you. So you do line of sight, line of sight, line of sight, and we can call it frequency hop jumping or whatever, but P2P. And or or you can just get your shit from that fucking satellite. So with pretty decent lag. So I feel that that is going to be extremely good in the future. Everyone else is, it's just, you're about to get shat on. And everybody's always worried, like, oh, you can't cut these underwater cables and shit. Who cares about the underwater cables anymore? And if the government wanted to, in 1 year, they could put so many satellites up there. And the problem is it's just it's gonna be crazy. And then and, and mark my words right now, the satellites at SpaceX right now can emit frequencies probably outside of the ranges they were supposed to be able to emit. And that's because they're just not emitting those. And because they can do that, and there's so many of them, they can be weaponized. I'm just putting that out there. 100%. But but anyways, if you don't think space already has weapons in it, you need to rethink that. We were putting weapons in space in the 70s. If you don't you think we stopped. It's crazy. All right. No, no. We'll see how much. But they don't they're there's been talk to issue out dividends, but a lot of people don't want dividends to be issued out right now during the growth. But the talk was like 5%. So we'll see. If I don't think SpaceX is going to go public, but if they went public, it'd be $1 trillion day one. Everyone would buy it. Because it's not overpriced. Right now, SpaceX is valued at its running. SpaceX makes billions a year. People think, oh, the government gives them the money. People need to understand the government doesn't subsidize SpaceX in any way, shape, or form. It's actually probably SpaceX subsidizes the government. That SpaceX can, instead of launching stuff for the United States government, they can launch it for any other government and probably charge them 20 times as much, right? So the United States government provides billions of dollars to universities to come up with all this crap. And here SpaceX is doing it without the help of that and then giving their inventions away to other people. So I'm not saying Elon's doing it, but it is his company. So the guy has hired some extremely smart people. And the only way you keep smart people together is to let them have a provide them with the vision and provide, you know what I'm saying, and direction, purpose and direction. That's motivation. And people that work at SpaceX love it or they don't, right? So the ones that want to be there for SpaceX, the mission, get to Mars or launch cool shit, they really like their work because they're in it and they're allowed to do whatever they want to, basically. If you like to sham out or not do anything or, then you probably don't like it there. But I try to get hired. I did. I tried to get hired. That's a no go. Probably get hired as a security, in charge of security of some place. But I was trying to go as a math nerd analyst. Yeah, Space Force is a joke, but um, I'll put it like this: everybody's looking at China's China, what do you call it? China's little new Gen 6 fighter or whatever that they have that they think is cool. And nobody's really talking about the United States Air Force has had a plane for the last 7 years that can go outside of out of the Earth's orbit and then come back in. And it's an attack airplane. And that would break every law, every treaty that we ever had about not putting weapons in space. But you didn't send a weapon up with it. But it is an attacked aircraft and it can go to the outer Earth's orbit. That's further than like Blue Origin and shit goes. And it's a attack airplane. Just saying. People, if you don't think there's weapons in space, you're nuts. And you wouldn't even know about those airplanes if there wasn't for social media catching it and you know all the other stuff. But yeah, I don't know how far Tesla's overpriced, but I always say Tesla's overpriced, and I'm always wrong. The last time, I took it for a ride from like 180 to like 300, and this was back before the split, right? Before that split and this split. So don't even listen to me when I talk, because that was like 15 times ago, and now it's still worth more than that. So I left like 80 fucking billion dollars on the table. But um yeah, that's the 200 right there. That's going to be a solid bounce. It doesn't really care about that 200 too often, but on that first touch, no weak, this was a weak time in the market, right? The whole market was going down. So let's get rid of that. So if the market isn't going down, I don't know. Tesla is an AI machine, and this people don't understand. Do you think Tesla makes its money on its cars? Do you think that's really where they make their money? It's not. They collect data for AI and everything else off their cars like crazy, and then they use that everywhere else. They make their money in data and they make their money in their battery packs, solar side of the house, right? So, but even then, the company makes money. That is 73 cents a share on a 290. So it sounds crazy, right? Okay. What's another company that is that price, right? And it's not too awful. And it's Tesla. So it's always overpriced because of the Elon Musk factor. So if you're asking me to tell you what is a true evaluation of Tesla, it's probably in the double digits and not a high one. Like it's probably like 30, $40. But it's Tesla. So, you know, Elon Musk, of course it's overpriced, but that doesn't mean anything about where it's going. Uh, and then with the far left now wanting to not buy Teslas, and I don't know what they're going to buy because I guess you could buy another car, but I mean, it's just hilarious. I just can't. Left has gone so fucking nuts, and now they're hate again. The person has done the most for advancing electric cars ever and solar power ever in the world is Elon Musk's Tesla, and people hate him. And those are your and those are the number two things for climate control. And you dislike them now because Orange Man said so or some shit. I don't know. Just hilarious. I just, it trips. It makes me crazy. Oh, yeah. If you're talking, I don't know. Are you talking about Baba, Steve, or was that like Tesla? I don't know. It was a long time ago. Rivian, I think Rivian's already bankrupt, brother. Oh, yeah. It was, yeah. All those are bankrupt. They're all trash. Um, I've always said that electric is not going to be a stable thing. We just don't have the power grid to support electric cars. We don't, regardless of what anybody says, we do not have the power to support electric cars. Um, Even if everybody was trying to charge your grid, I mean, even the lines couldn't hold it. So we would have to put up more feeder lines to neighborhoods and thicken the wires at least, which they would just put new ones up. They wouldn't thicken them. Uh, So yeah, I don't see that happening. Uh, I did see Trump wanted to. He says his first priority in infrastructure was to beef up the grid to 2 times to 3 times its size. I don't know how that's going to happen. We did have a $1.7 trillion in infrastructure bill where we spent a total of $12 billion so far, but the bill passed 3 years ago. That infrastructure bill Biden passed that had nothing to do with infrastructure. It, I don't know what to tell you. It was supposed to outfit major things to all major cities and feeder lines and provide charging stations. And we already know what's happened. He's built like 5 charging stations and no feeder lines. But I don't know where all the money went. And it's not just that, it was everywhere. The largest portion was for power, and it's just not there. And I'm not blaming him. He wanted something, and that was good. That's probably what Biden wanted, what his people wanted. But then they were somehow believing that all the cities and locals and states were going to allow you to just do this without trying to milk you for every $1 billion they could get. Like, you can't put that there. It'll hurt, a field mouse or some shit. And then that just stops it until you can somehow give them $80 billion and they'll be like, oh, we don't care about the field mouse anymore. That's how the world works, right? Um, Whether like you like him or not, I don't think Trump cares about none of that shit. Because you can see Trump, he's firing people and federal employees, by the way, 70 something percent of them vote red. So he is fired. His first move is going after stupid government employees, of which 70% of them voted for him. So I'm just saying, I don't think he really cares. He don't have to get reelected, right? So That man is just going out, and he's never, yeah, right. Yeah, and I don't think he's ever going to care about following the law again either. He's going to break every court's decision he wants to, too. You want to know why? What can they do to him? He is the president of the United States. The Supreme Court already said he cannot be charged with anything in the official duties. So he will personally break every law possible, go against every judge's decision, and he cannot get in trouble for it because the Supreme Court says he can't be in trouble for it. So even if a judge tries to do something, the judge can't actually enforce it because he's a judicial. The all the people that would enforce it would be the FBI or something, which falls underneath him. So the only way to get him is to somehow impeach him. But then you would have to get everybody to impeach him, and you can't charge him with the crime because it's not criminal because then it's official act. You get, do you get how crazy this is? That is, and you can't blame one side because they both spin it both ways. You know what I'm saying? Because for example, let's get rid of the supermajority. That way we can get all these federal judges in there. They did that underneath Obama and then they passed it. And they were like, well, we had to do it. And then Trump did it and put all those Supreme Court people in, and people got mad at him. But it wasn't Trump that got rid of the filibuster. It was the other. So I'm just saying, it's going to be fun. I can't wait. I love chaos, and I think it's going to be. I think a lot of people on the left, center left are going to go towards Trump, and a lot of people on the right are just going to go towards center. I don't know because they're about to get screwed over. Everybody thought they were going to do better. And if Trump does what he actually says, I think it will be better long term. And I'm talking about the jobs and all this stuff and tariffs. I think it'd be better long term, but you have to suffer, right? You have to have less now to have something later, and that's what, and this, I came from the microwave generation, right? So now these people come from the right now. So there's zero chance. Yeah, so Trump policies that stocks will benefit. That's why I brought up the market going down. Right now, I think there'll be a little bit of turbulence, so I think bonds are a pretty good spot. Um, Anytime VIX gets low, look, I don't think Trump is going to have some, especially right now. And he said this is going to take a year plus, a year and a half, 2 years to see any benefits from. He said this million, like not a million times, but he says this every time someone asks him a questions about all this. He says it's going to take a long time. And I do, that's common sense, but people don't understand that. Like you fire someone now, they're like, oh, he did it. Like, not really, right? And you're going to see that. So it could take a long time. In that time, it's going to be a lot of volatility. So if you can get the VIX low, I know I usually go anything below 13. I buy VIX. You can see my little line down there. And and it's been a little bit crazy, right? You see this. It's all good. But I'm probably going to have to up that to somewhere new, maybe in that $14 range instead of getting below my blue line down here to 12 or 13 to a 12. Um, I might have to up that a little bit just so when it goes in there, I can try to ladder stuff in. It's just such good money. Um, and I don't think it's not always about what Trump does. A lot of times it's about what the other side does too, because they're just they tweet bullshit all the time, so they think, Musk is out there stealing people's data and money going into your bank account. Like, what do you think like, do you actually think that's, and this is also coming from the people that are complaining that also have every part of their life on social media, but I'm not even going to get into that. He could care less about none of that. But uh, I think it's funny though. I like chaos, and that should be that man's middle name. So I'm all for it. But I'll tell you what, whether you like it or not, I don't think there's ever been anyone that has implemented his plan and then done exactly what he ran for ever. You know what I'm saying? So everybody that was worried that he was going to actually, I didn't think he was going to do half the shit he said he was going to do. Yeah, he is. It's your worst nightmare. Oh, yeah. So I don't know stocks that have benefited other than, like I said, I would look for volatile stocks. And then for now, we might have a short pull down because he said it that there's going to have to be, he said that there's going to have to be like everything is kind of going to have to go down. You're going to be, some people are going to have to suffer. Uh, but I don't know. And the thing is none of this stuff he does will ever work, right? He can be the president for 4 years, make all the best stuff. The next guy do it again, the next guy do it again, and then someone else comes in, or there's some major event where people go, we have to spend this money. And because we're not gonna be able to pay down trillions of dollars a year. It'd be like, it'd probably take 2 years before we can even break even, because that's how high the interest rate is, right? That's how much we're paying in interest, and then we'll start to lower that by 500 billion a year. It could take 100 years to wipe the debt out, right? I mean, it's only going to take one or two idiots to basically get rid of 40 years of savings, right? That's it. It's just going to take that one drunk night to go in there and blow your savings in Vegas. And so in the end, you know, they're actually thinking people are going to do the right thing. I don't. I think, there is no saving the future, but I'm a pessimist, so what do you want? Uh, yeah, I use when I do this, it'll be I don't know how many of us are doing it. I know me and Trax are. I don't know if some other people are hopping on. I would like to see some Bitcoin stuff on there or some crypto because I don't really do crypto. Like, I bought crypto a long time ago and I've done analysts for crypto for like big banks and I made a lot of money off of that, but I don't really follow it mainly because I'm retired. I just don't like to do any. I'm lazy. I'm your government employee. If I could go get a job right now, be a government employee, probably make well into the hundred thousands, and I would do the absolute bare minimum because I just don't care. And I would automatically get the job because I'm 100% disabled. So I would get hired over everyone, even if they were because of how the government works. As long as I am qualified, you have to give me the job over someone that's even more qualified just because I meet the minimum requirements. That's great. I get it. You're trying to help disabled people, but you kind of get why it's not that efficient. You know what I'm saying? And yes, I am disabled. I've been hit. I got plenty of stuff wrong with me. But I mean, they gave me 75% disability for PTSD because my decision making isn't good, or it might not be good. My decision making is still making me millions a year. So you get what I'm saying? Like that's the government for you. Uh, yeah. Yeah, AMD. I mean, I haven't really looked into AMD. I think AMD is AM. I think AMD is going to do fine. I think they went up a little bit crazy. I think they rode Nvidia's coattails up. Um, I think I think AMD is going to be less of a. I don't think they're going to compete against Nvidia. I just don't think they can. They're just not in the same sector. AMD's GP, the latest GPU is pretty nice, but they don't produce a server side GPU or uh, Q. They don't produce. I don't want to say GPU or video graphics card or anything like that, but they don't produce a large CUDA core AI machine. They produce processors that do it. And I don't want to get into the jumbo of what's the difference, right? Some AI needs a lot of cuticle core, so they need a lot of small calculations, and then other AI need major real big hard calculations. The processor will handle those hard ones way faster than the GPU will. But then when you get a lot of small information, the GPU one handles it a million times faster. So there are two different areas that are going into it. The problem is NVIDIA is also getting into that. Your second problem is, did Microsoft just really create a fucking nanotech motherfucking technology processor? We're going to find out if that's a real quantum processor pretty soon. Because if it is, that might change the AI game forever there. And then you have Intel, which not only is going to be, I believe, in 10 years will be NVIDIA's biggest challenger in server side stack with GPUs. It will also be AMD's largest competitor. Uh, but that's if they want to spend the money. And I am thinking Intel is not going to try to beat them in development. You get what I'm saying? So developing side. I think Intel will slowly back off take Apple's approach, let everybody else do the work, and then just sell stuff that they make and not try to progress it. And then Intel will be the producer or the manufacturer of AMD's and NVIDIA's stuff. You get what I'm saying? So they'll be able, so that's where they'll make their money is they will actually be the one producing it instead of TMSC. It will actually be Intel producing it here in the United States also. So I think that's kind of where I see Intel going. Because right now, Intel's going to be able to produce so many chips in 3 years that they don't even have the market share for that. They don't. They have to make other people's stuff, right? So I think that's what's going to be cool there. No, healthcare, all healthcare services are huge. Um, Healthcare is one of the look, every commercial you see on TV is healthcare. Shit. TikTok. You watch TikTok, there is 95 different pills right now I can take to help me get a hard on, right? It doesn't matter where you're at. The largest stuff we can do is uh is is healthcare pharmaceuticals, right? It's not going anywhere. Uh Nor do I mean, it probably shouldn't. Everybody hates the American healthcare system, but it does produce all the fucking benefit. Nobody else was producing vaccines, so it's a it's a hard one. But yes, any type of healthcare that you want to get into is going to be huge. Um, Number one, the one thing I don't think Trump will ever really attack. No, I'm not a believer in single payer healthcare. I've been in TRICARE my whole adult life, and let me tell you right now, it sucks. Okay. I have the best primary care provider. I know them personally. I can call him right now and say, hey, I want to go see this specialist. He will type in some bullshit in there and then get me that specialist immediately. I would never have to go see him. You're not going to be able to do that. Okay. You're going to have to wait. It's going to take you a few days to get to see him, maybe a week or two. And then it's going to have to go to someone to see if you actually need to see him. What does that look like? I don't know. It takes weeks. So then you're going to get to go see someone. Then they're going to take a biopsy. They're going to have to turn that biopsy over to there and say, hey, can I get approved to look at this biopsy to go to here, 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 to here. And 5 months later, you finally get checked for the cancer to find out now it's stage fucking 4. Welcome to single payer fucking healthcare, right? Um, and if it's government controlled, please explain to me one government program that's efficient at all. And I will gladly be a proponent for government, the United States government, the most corrupt government on the planet. We already see what they're doing now. Now imagine them being in charge of healthcare. They leak more information than shit, like a net through water. It's ridiculous. So all your information's gone. It's just stupid. And you're going to pay way more than what it's worth, right? I know. I've owned a hospice. I know. Guess what? I didn't want to take insurance. I didn't take anyone's insurance. The only insurances I took were government insurances. Why? Because they paid the most and needed the least amount of information once they got to me. So that was it. So, see what else. Uh, I'm just looking through y'all's questions. Yeah, I think our little social media guy there's recording and stuff. And Bidu AI. Yeah. So, yep, that's about it, man. I like AMD. I mean, anybody that's producing any type of transistor chips right now are good. So, all your silicone companies should be doing great. Um, it's just the demand is there. Uh, I don't think AMD is that far ahead of everyone else, or I'm sorry, NVIDIA is that far ahead of everyone else. I just think that they have always been after the higher, how do you say it? The upper level. So they always went after the highest, not the lowest price points or the mid price points. And they just had this one cycle that they came out with really good stuff. At the same time, a bunch of AI stuff came out. I don't think it was NVIDIA's fault that it happened that way or their plan. I think my headphones just went off, but they usually come back on. But y'all should still be able to hear me. I got my Rode mic over here or my Shure mic. Uh, but yeah, I can't hear y'all, so let me turn it back on. But with that same thing, you'll see a rotation in and out, right? So NVIDIA come here, AMD there. But the only problem with NVIDIA was is they were producing huge for their line of their GPUs that they were pushing, and they were trying to go crazy, and they had the time on the bench with the manufacturers. And like I said, NVIDIA has a 2 to 3 year head start that nobody's gonna be able to catch them because of this. AMD might be able to, but then they would have to just get rid of all their plans to try to chase them. I don't think that's ever been, AMD has never done that. It probably won't be very profitable. Um, but in about 2 years, NVIDIA is going to have some challenges because Intel's GPUs right now they're decent for gaming and stuff, right? But they're pretty efficient at AI work. And I said efficient. I didn't say they were the best. But if I buy four of those, or I can probably buy nine of them compared to one of the other ones, right? They would use about the same amount of fucking power and produce better results. So, and this is just, and they're learning. So in 2 years, you're going to have a manufacturer that can process all this stuff on their own. And then making their competitors' chips also. So that just becomes this weird, you know, almost illegal scenario where they can just steal all the cool stuff that they're doing, probably. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it works out. But I like anybody that makes any silicon transistor chips or whatever you want to call them. Semiconductors, I guess would be the correct word, right? But other than that, if you want to know what's going to do good, I don't think that is the correct way, right? Everybody wants to say put your money in the market, you'll make more. I would say BS. I've never not beating the market. And that's because the market is so trendy. And what I mean, it's just common that the market is made just to go up, right? That's all it is. So if I know that and I can catch any downswing or, make any money on that adjustment that it's only going to go up, it kind of helps. Now, if it goes down and I get out, it's fine. But yeah, I've never not beat the market. And I don't think it's that hard. It's quite easy. It's not, I think most people just get greedy and that's where they fail. And I don't get greedy. I have a goal and I try to stick with that. All right. What you need to do, I just looked at that. What companies are going to benefit from helping Trump secure a border? What companies are a lot of that could be military pushing out, pushing that on there. I would like to see, and I know this sucks because see, this is why I don't like Musk at the White House because I think one of the best ways to catch people at the border is using technology, not so much people. And I think SpaceX could probably put up a few thousand satellites in 6 months to just cover the border and provide real-time video coverage of every square inch of the border in thermal and regular vision. And it's not as expensive as it sounds. It would probably run 30, 40 billion dollars for the US government, but it could be utilized anywhere, right? You could just move them. But then you would have a blanket pattern over anything you wanted to right there, and then low orbit. I just don't know. Uh, and that would be a government contract to put it. It could be anyone, but if you need to put it up there, they already have the ability to do it, right? So that's who it would be, and they could do it extremely quick. SpaceX could produce those and put up thousands of satellites in that time. People don't think that, but without Googling it, how often do you think SpaceX launches a rocket or a payload into space? As incorrect. SpaceX launches a payload into orbit every 2 days on average. And the only reason, and they've requested for more launch times, but they get denied. That is correct. They launch cool, funny ones, you know what I'm saying? That are like the big Falcons or whatever that you get to see. They launch, but there's actually a launch every time. To put it like this, like I think they've launched something like 680 Falcon 9s into orbit, dropped a payload off, and came back. And do you know how many of those were failures? Three of them. Three were failures. They're so good at what they do now that people don't know that they launch a fucking rocket into space, land it, reload. They got a bunch of them. Get it ready and reload it, and then shoot that shit back into space in 2 weeks. And they have multiple. So that's why they were trying to get more stuff to what do you call it? In California. But right now, I think they can only launch. It's different, right? But the Florida one launches most of their Starlink stuff, and they launch there every 3 or 4 days. Yeah, there are other ways you can get into, like, for Alphabet owns a certain percentage of SpaceX as one of their first investors. They put in a good amount of money into them. I think they own like 10%. Don't take me on down because I do know they do. Other than that, I don't know. There's other people that own a percentage, but nobody as much as Alphabet. But yeah, that's it. A good way to do it is get a bunch of people you know, S corp it up, and then buy it. But then if you're not putting in a large amount, it's probably not worth it. But once again, government regulations state to trade SpaceX, which is a private owned company that can sell stairs. It's just not public, right? You cannot purchase those because you are too stupid to do your due diligence. That is what the United States government says about you. That because you're not rich, you are too stupid to make a choice to buy SpaceX stock. That's it. Now, if you made $250,000 a year or you have $2 million in assets, then you are smart enough to buy it. What? I can give my kid $2 million right now. He's a fucking idiot, right? But he would be able to buy whatever he wanted, right? Or I can be uh, an OnlyFans model, right? Making 250,000 a year and I can buy SpaceX. But if I'm a government employee, I can't because I'm not intelligent enough to do it because I don't make $250,000. That is what the government, that is what the regulation states. It doesn't say you're stupid, but that's what it means. They say they're trying to protect you. Why are they trying to? Why is the United States government, which has some idiot there that is not as educated as me in corporate finance, or economics, most likely, is trying to tell me how to spend my money? I worked for the United States Army making $40,000 to $80,000 a year to then making a lot of money as special ops, but to having millions of dollars I can just fucking catch on fire right now if I wanted to and not even feel the pain from it. But somehow I don't know how to spend my money, but they do. One of us is $37 trillion dollars in fucking debt, you know, and the other one is not. So, you know, but we're too stupid, is what they say. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, it's probably way worse, man. But I mean, it's probably the same old rules, same stuff here. It's just I, I find that Canada has the same regulations that the USA does. The only problem is there's usually loopholes for someone in the US laws because although, well, the United States has been a country way longer than Canada, but uh, where I guess not way longer, but 70, 80 years longer. But uh, when in terms of the Constitution and when the law started forming. But Canada was really good about make for a while is this is a regulation, that's it, and it not being so crazy 95 million pages of other shit in it. Well, then the US government did that. They made one law, but then stacked all this BS in here. So in the end, you cannot. So if you actually do something as a business in the United States, I don't care what you do, I promise you, you broke a law. Period. You do anything, I can find a regulation, some form of law or something that you just broke. It might be a 150-year-old law, but you just broke a law or some regulation or some crap some agency put down. There's just no way you have it. It is that crazy. And surprisingly, Canada didn't do that. And it's because of how they were. It, the main thing is you have a prime minister instead of an executive that can also throw down executive orders, which actually changes policy. So at least most your stuff comes from one group, your legislators, rather than 95 different agencies. And that's the problem. Yeah. But yeah, it's probably still worse because there's no loopholes, right? And that's the problem. Although you're probably breaking a law, you probably have a loophole around that same law somewhere. And I don't want to say loophole, but we'll call it an exemption because that's what it is. And the problem is you'll never find it because it was buried and nobody talk and nobody goes and reads a 9,000 page bill that all it was supposed to do is, protect 4 acres from some grouse bird. You know what I'm saying? All righty. Anybody else got anything? I don't know what you were asking there. No, I really want to see if this really drops, right? Because if we look at this right here, this fast is coming down hard, right? So if we stay with this trend, When is this going to cross? Because this is going to be down here, right? If it stays flat, if it comes up, okay, maybe it won't dip. But let's just say we stay pretty much a little bit above that because I just went right at it. This is a little bit sloping up in that line. We're going to be right here in this candle. So unless we get above uh in the general, well, shit, actually, I lied because even if it closes right here, this is still going to go down, right? Because it's going to be below that. So we actually have to close above this and then wait. Let's go back 8 candles. That would be eight, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And then it's getting rid of this high one right here, right now, right? So it's going to get rid of this and then rid of that and then rid of this one. So there's no way in the next 3 days, if we don't get above like right here, right, in the next 3 days, above 600, it's going to cross no matter what because it's going to get rid of the higher numbers and start calculating lower closes. And these would be lower. You get what I'm saying? So it's really going to pull it down. So Walmart, I like Walmart. I think it's high price, right? You should have bought it when it was a little bit lower. But I'm not against, buying any stock you want to long term. I think Walmart would be good. If it's for retirement, you buy it, especially if it's something where your company matches it, right? If you're a Walmart employee, you put as much money as you can possibly into it. Costco, I don't have a problem with Costco, except Costco is the only surviving product from Kmart slash then Sears, right? So um, it does well where it does. It doesn't blow money, treats its employees decent. Uh, Costco and Sam's are here to stay. I don't think they have any problems making money or losing money. They don't change, right? Costco is not getting destroyed by or not yet. They're not getting destroyed by Amazon or anyone because the people that shop at Costco, the majority of them, um, are not doing that. They either are local small businesses that go there to buy in bulk or they're older people. You know what I'm saying? Because you ever look at Costco and Sam's hours, you know they're like happy hour is you get to show up earlier, right? And you go there and it's like 95%, like 80-year-olds all chilling out at the door like at 6 o'clock. Like, bro, you didn't have to worry about it. Nobody was getting up at 7 either. You could have just came at 7. You know what I'm saying? But they're there at 6. So, CVNA, is that Carvana? They're going bankrupt. There's no way. Yeah, they're going bankrupt. I know they're up right now, but I just don't see how that company's going to survive right now. I think they might get bought out by someone, but and they're actually probably making money, but I think the where Carvana is going to fail, and I don't think they're really going to be able to survive, is the car market is absolutely out of control right now, right? I mean, I got friends buying an Escalade that's like $180,000. Yes, it's got a Corvette engine in it, but it shouldn't cost $180,000, right? And there's just cars that are just so ridiculously high priced trucks and everything else. And look, those trucks are sitting out on the lots right now. And the problem is Carvana, and this, I'm not saying it's going to happen now because if, so economics 101, right? So if um, the economy starts to take a downturn, right? We look for Griffin goods, right? So what Griffin goods are goods that actually go up in value when the economy goes down, right? So well, let me explain that a differently because that's not an economic term. When the available money that an individual has, right, or a population has goes down, then they try to save money. And in that case, they look for ways to save money. We look at thrift stores, used cars, everything else, right? These are some things that become in more demand during times of hardship or when, like I said, the disposable income goes down. We're going to say the economy just to keep it clear. I just don't want you to confuse the definition of a Griffin good, but just understand bad times, people aren't spending money on luxuries. They're not right. And they're trying to find alternate ways to save money. That is used cars, um, thrift stores, things like that, right? Those were just really clear. We saw this kind of in 2020. Right off the bat, it got really crazy. Everybody was going after it. And then car dealers started having problems too. So then it was really bad. But, we see this every time. Um, so just think about that. So Carvana could actually do pretty well, but I think in the end they can't survive a flip of the car. They just don't have the money or the back, and that could take 2 years, 3 years, and then they'll be out. For example, like 2008 would crush Carvana, and they wouldn't get a bailout like the manufacturers do because they don't have enough employees and pensions to save, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not going to hate on Carvana. I think it's just riding the market's coattails. Um, and I think it's a great style. I don't really, I'm not saying I dislike car people because every car I ever wanted, I can go look on the internet, but I can never find it. They don't have it. I call my local guy and say, hey, I want this car white with red leather interior or close to red as you get, maroon or something like that. And I'll go drive and I can pick it up. So it needs to be within like, 12-hour drive of me. And then they're like, okay. And then that guy finds it and says, I'll ship it here. It costs $800. Cool. I didn't want to do that, and I couldn't find it anyways, right? But, because, and that's probably because they hoarded and they got it in the back pocket. But guess what? It's still going to happen somewhere else. Someone's in charge of it. Energy and oil. Uh, that's a little bit different one. If you want to know, do I, I think energy prices in general during summer months usually we do see an increase. I think that will be the case here. But if for some reason we fear the economy is going down, we will stop growth, which thus will do what? It will reduce the amount of energy that we're using. Um, there's no way for Trump to force people to open up more wells. And it does take a long time to open up wells on leases, uh, or to scale, especially if it's offshore. It could take just a year or something because you have to drill it, proof it, concrete it, everything, then stick it out, then bring in another whole well, because the whole platform moves. You have a platform that drills, it goes away, and then a one that comes to pump it up comes in. Two different cats, right? So I don't know about that. Um, but it's oil, man. It's like gold. It's there to survive. Energy, like I said, I think he's going to try to push for mass energy, and that's going to come out of government fundings. So I think a lot of energy companies could see an upswing over the next 2 years, but that might already be priced in. And airlines, I hate all airlines are failures, all of them. Every airline on the planet is a bankruptcy that's happening. I don't has every hasn't ev- I don't know if there's an airline that hasn't filed bankruptcy, right? They get bailouts, they get money handed to them by the U.S. government because of it's kind of like the postal service, right? Postal service is extremely efficient. Everybody hates on the United States Postal Service because they lose, because they need a few $1 billion a year. You have to understand that they make 80 something billion a year, and 60 billion of that is paid out to 500,000 people that only make like 60, 70,000 on average. And they do it twice as good as any private sectors. That is the only government company that it's actually runs efficient. Um, and how efficient would it be if it didn't run negative? I don't know, but we probably wouldn't want to know. Uh, for, almost nothing. Now you try that somewhere else, it's probably going to put a pain in it. So we'll see how that works out. And airlines are just, they all fail. And they get, like I said, they get subsidized because The postal office has to deliver to everyone. That's why they fail. FedEx doesn't go my lake house. Guess what? FedEx don't go to my lake house. Let me try to deliver something to FedEx from my lake house. I'm going to get a fucking slap piece in the mail telling me to go pick this shit up somewhere. They ain't coming to me. And if they does, it's going to take 80 years, bro. Number two, but post office will be there in fucking 3 days. Nope, from anywhere in the United States. Uh, so the same way with airlines. Airlines don't need to go to Alexandria, Louisiana. There's no reason, right? But guess what? The government subsidizes the airlines to say, hey, we need these regional airports to push to the larger airports. So everybody has a way to get around. Plus, it fills up the larger planes to be more efficient. So we're not flying with empty seats and we make money. So, yeah, that's why they get subsidized like crazy. But that's also why they always merge because there's just very few. Uh, Southwest is pretty decent on how but they just don't, they just don't mess around. They don't have any overheads really.